This is a tutorial using even peyote stitch to make a Kandi bat. If you're already familiar with this type of stitch, here is the pattern. You can just take that, screenshot it, and roll. So I'm just going to show you on screen exactly what I do to make the bat. You're going to be using an even peyote stitch, so that would be the first thing, the first basic thing that you need to have in order to make this pattern. Where I'm starting from is from wingtip to wingtip. So take the pattern that I showed on the screen just before this and match it up. One thing that you do want to be cautious about is making sure that you have your right colored beads on the right string. So for me, you can see that in the spots where I have 2 beads instead of the 1 bead, I always make sure that the black beads are on one string and the orange beads are on one string. And you keep them separate because that's what starts to actually make the picture and form the bat. One thing that I also do that I find really helpful and important is every so often I will tighten all the beads. And you can kind of see me doing it here as I'm putting them on the strings, going from wingtip to wingtip, 20 beads across. I'm stretching them and pushing them down to make them lie flat. And it's going to feel really weird. It's going to not want to stay in place. And that's fine. That's totally normal. So I'm almost done here with the second wing. You can see me finishing it off. And that's it. So now we've got wingtip to wingtip, and I'm just squishing it all down so it lies flat. And you can see on the right, I've got 1 bead, and on the left, it's flat. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fix that. We're going to take that lower string, and we're going to just run it through that orange bead right next to it. And now we're going to start weaving in the next beads in the pattern. So for this, it's the lower half of the bat. It's the underside of the wing. So it's going to go orange, black, pink, because that's the belly. I'm a little bit ahead in my narration. There's the pink. And black. And then back to orange. Black. And orange. And we're just going to leave that hanging out of the other side. And now we're going to do the top. So same thing as you did before. Tuck it through that top black bead. And this is what actually makes it angled. And you're starting to make the shape of the wings here. So you're going to add 1 black bead, 1 black bead, 1 black bead, 1 black bead, and now you're actually going to add a pink bead because this is his nose, or her nose, and you guessed it, more black beads. It's basically black all the way across the top, because again, we're starting to just build out the shape of the wings and define the tops of the wings. So now you've got both threads poking out that end, and you're going to add 1 black bead, and that's finally the other wingtip. So if you compare this to the pattern, you'll see now it really looks like the middle of that pattern. And again, you're just going to put it down through the next 2 bottom beads actually, like that, and that's going to hold that bead steady. Don't worry, we can do the top now too. Yep, there you go. And now we're going to fill in the bottom of the wings. So you're going to add 3 orange beads, 2 pink beads, and 3 orange beads. And now going across the top, it's going to change a bit. So you're going to do 2 black beads. I'm going to slow this down, because you're actually going to run it through the next 2 black beads without adding a bead. So you're just going to tuck it through there. And that creates kind of the shoulder definition on our bat. So that's 1 and 2. There you go. And now you're going to add his eyes. So I chose green beads. You can use whatever color you want. But so it's going to be one green bead and through, and one green bead and through. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side and run that string through the next two beads, 1, 2, without adding a bead in the middle. And that'll be his other shoulder. And once you're popping out of that second bead, right here, now you're going to add 2 more black beads. Once you got those last 2 black beads on there, you're going to go back down to the bottom string. And you can see I have added some string, and I've also added my needle because I ran out of patience. But you're going to run it back down through that next orange bead. And you're going to add another row to the bottom of his wings. So it's going to go black, orange, black, pink, black, orange, black. And that'll finish off the bottom row of the wings just about. And then you're going to do something else, which I will show you here in just a second. And I'm actually going to slow it down to show you this next step in a little bit more detail. I'm just waiting for the video to catch up here. So when you go to finish off this last row, you're going to run it back through that last black, and then you're actually going to run it through 1, 2, 3, 4 more beads, because you're not going to be adding any more to the bottoms of the wings. You're only going to be adding his feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to run it all the way through those boys, and you want it to be coming out in his tummy. Then you're going to add 2 black beads. And then you're going to add 1 more black bead. And you're going to turn it around and string it back through that same black bead you literally just added. And that's going to make one of his feet. You want to keep that pulled tight. It's not going to want to stay there, but keep it pulled tight. Add 1 more black bead. That's the bottom of his tummy. And 1 more black bead is going to go on there, and that's his other foot. And once you've got that third black bead on there, you're actually going to string it up through his tummy. So, see what I'm doing here? You pull it tight, and you're just going to leave that string there for a minute. We're going to go back to the head. We're just going to leave that bottom string in the middle of his tummy, where you can come back to it. Now back here on the top, you're going to run the string all the way back through his wing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beads through. So you can do it in stages, you can do all 7 at once, whatever makes you happy. But you want to be coming out of his eye into the middle of his head, which sounds very gruesome, but happy Halloween. Here we go. So now you got your string in position. You're going to put 1 black bead right in between his eyes. Just like that. And then you're going to put another black bead right on the side of his head there. You're going to run the string through the black bead that is directly below where you're putting the bead. And you're going to want to pull that tight, and that'll hold that bead in place. And then we're going to just leave that top string there, kind of dangling out of the way. And we're going to go back to the bottom string. So now with the bottom string, we're going to actually skip 1 bead vertically and then go 2 diagonal. So up 1 and over 2. And I'm showing you exactly how you do it. Coming out of the side of his head. And now we're going to add a black bead. And we're going to string it through his eye. Isn't this pleasant? And then we're going to string it through the next black bead right in the middle of his forehead. Being careful not to accidentally tangle our other string. And we're going to add a black bead. I'm showing this part real slow, real time, because it is tricky and I did have to figure this part out myself. There might be a better way to do it. This is just how I do it. So you add one black bead on top of his eye there. And it is going to want to kind of fall apart. So just keep retightening it as you need to. Add a black bead. That's going to sit right on top of that one on the side of his head, and you run it through the bead you just added. And then you're going to run the string through that black bead in the middle of his head, right above his nose. Yeah, you can see I was having some trouble here. So you just keep tightening the string, keep retightening it as much as you need to. Put the string through that black bead in the middle of his head, and you're going to add a black bead. And then you're going to run that through the black bead on the other side of his head like that. You want to pull it tight. Then you're going to add one more black bead. This is the last bead you need. And put it through the black bead you just added. So, see, like this, it does not want to stay together. It definitely wants to sort of fall apart into a mush. So, it's very floppy. You want to go back through and just retighten everything that you possibly can. And once you have it nice and tight, you basically want to connect your strings. So you're going to run that string you were just working with back through the middle of his head to connect up with the top string. I mean, they're both top strings now, but what was your bottom string goes through the middle of his head to connect up with your top string. And you're just going to tie a knot. I use a triple knot. That's just 3 granny knots in a row. You can use whatever knot makes you happy. Tie it really, really tight so it doesn't fall apart, and just hide the knot inside a bead and cut off the ends. And there you go. That is how to make a candy bat. I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Here's all my other socials. Basically, I made this a YouTube video because it was too long to make a TikTok, so I hope this was helpful. Have a good night.